When these folks struggle, which they will continue to do under the Trump administration, it's bad for everybody, right? Like, even if you say, I don't care about these individual people, if a large swath of the population is struggling in these ways thanks to Trump's policies, it's bad for everybody, regardless of your financial position, if you understand demand side economics. And of course, part of the reason that the article points out now all of these folks are worried is that they're seeing the red flags. They see Trump's budget picks being connected to Project 2025.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? We have the illustrious sage of the left, Mr. David Pakman, and he is here and he is talking about the plight of the low-income voters who voted for Trump and are now fearful that he will now slash their programs. This is vintage David Pakman. It's vintage leftism. When you take something, an article, and you present it in such a way to say something that the article is not necessarily saying. Okay, it's horrible when they do this, but it is something that all leftists do. I'm not going to lie either. Some folks on the right do it. Fox does it all the time, as a matter of fact. So let's go through this and let's see what's going on as David Pakman does his absolute and utter best to outright lie to his listeners about these low-income voters who voted for Trump.
Low-income Trump voters are now panicking, realizing, wait a second, this prick's going to slash my benefits. That's right. Here we go again.
Okay, now, first off, nowhere in any article has it quoted anybody by saying this prick is going to slash our benefits. So, again, already he is using language set a tone. And that basically that tone is going to be for the lie that he is about to present.
We've got a story that is becoming all too familiar. It's a classic case of Trump voters realizing they may have been sold a bill of goods, and this time it's happening before Donald Trump is even sworn in.
Now, always pay attention to the weasel words that he uses, may, okay? This article, if you're able to go to it, it's behind a paywall as far as I'm concerned, and there's absolutely no way that Jeff Bezos is getting a cent of my money. But even here, you're going to see the author of this article use other things like some economists, things of that nature. So again, he's already started in mischaracterizing generally what this article is saying.
There's a very good piece in the Washington Post by Tim Craig called, After Backing Trump, Low-Income Voters Hope He Doesn't Slash Their Benefits. Voters in the struggling Pennsylvania city of Newcastle backed Trump, hoping he'd curb inflation, but the incoming president will be under pressure to cut spending. So a bunch of examples in this article. Lori Mazura is one such example, a single mom from Newcastle, Pennsylvania, lives on $1,200 a month from Social Security plus food stamps.
Now, okay, this is already mischaracterized because he just says single mother, knowing full well what that will incite to his listeners, okay? If you go read the article, kid 17.
Her situation is so dire, she bikes to the grocery store because she doesn't have the money to fix her truck. She voted for Trump, and she voted for Trump because she thought he would be a champion for working class Americans. She said, I think he knows it's the poor people that got him elected, so I think Trump is going to do more to help us. Now, we all know that this isn't true, right? Trump's new team, Elon Musk, Vivek, they want to cut $2.5 trillion from the federal budget. You can't do that, really, without cutting from food stamps, Medicaid, the very lifelines that folks like Lori depend on.
Now, what he's doing is he's throwing all of this under the heading of what the government would call entitlements, okay? And that is a huge category. And it's not necessarily the food stamps and the low-income, what low-income people depend on. It's not necessarily that as well. I mean, you're talking about pensions for people working in the government that are in some cases making $500,000 a year. That goes under entitlements. Pensions for firefighters, policemen, that's under entitlements. So again, a lot of these things, yeah, some of these things do have to be cut, but it's going to be it is going to be one of those things that they have to go through to find out what they've done. Now, of course, Trump has said that he is not going to go after Social Security, and he's not going after these things that the low-income people depend on. And he's come right out and said that, and his supporters have come out right out and say that. Now, you could take that for what you want, okay? Because, again, all politicians do it. But the thing is that what David Pakman is not going to let you know, okay? And what the article will let you know, all right, is that the people that he is talking about were largely Democrats, okay, who voted for Trump because they knew that Trump had done better beforehand. Okay, I'll go into this a little bit more, but let's let David spew his facts.
He isn't alone. They interviewed other people from Newcastle. Newcastle is one of these kind of prototypical struggling industrial hubs. It flipped for Trump this election. It's the first time the city voted Republican in nearly 70 years. And a lot of it is because low-income voters who are struggling and have been struggling for a long time under Biden, previously under Trump, they want a change. They want relief. And so Trump says, well, I'll cut inflation and this and that. They said, sounds good to me. Now, there's a couple things that I think are important to talk about here.
Let's go over one thing it's important to talk about as well, is that Trump did cut inflation, okay? And inflation did go up over Biden. So, and again, going to the article, one thing that all the people that they interview, all right, who voted for Trump, okay, what they say is that the cost of living has become so great, okay? Not that we're not making enough in our entitlements, okay, or in our Social Security check or our food stamps. It's that the cost of said food has gone up so drastically that they can't afford it any longer.
Of course, it's easy to say these people are just ignorant. Anyone who understands tariffs knows you can't put blanket tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada and expect prices to go down. They are stupid. They deserve now what they voted for. Sure. I mean, you could take that perspective morally, I guess, right? If only they had economic education, they would know when you just put an import tax on everything, which is what a tariff is, prices rarely go down. When you cut taxes for the rich,
prices of things coming in from said country that have tariffs on them don't go down, okay? Prices, however, for things that are produced within our country or locally have a tendency to go down, okay, to meet the demand, all right? This is what Trump is actually doing, all right? It's a threat, okay? It's like building up a nuclear stockpile, only you're doing it with commodities, okay? Look at Quebec. Okay, for that matter, Quebec at one point in time, and they still do, had what is it, like an 800% tariff on American milk just to protect their own milk industry. Okay, this is the kind of stuff that they're talking about.
Rich, which Donald Trump wants and plans to do, that's not going to make it so that prices come down for the average person. Fine, it's fine to say that. They should be more informed, and if they were, maybe they wouldn't have fallen for it. But
or maybe if they were more informed, they would know that your economic system, or what they call the Keynesian economic system, was developed by a certain political movement in 1930s Germany. Look it up, guys.
That doesn't change the fact that when these folks struggle, which they will continue to do under the Trump administration, it's bad for everybody, right? Like, even if you say, I don't care about these individual people, if a large swath of the population is struggling in these ways thanks to Trump's policies, it's bad for everybody, regardless of your financial position, if you understand demand-side economics. And of course, part of the reason that the article points out now all of these folks are worried is that they're seeing the red flags. They see Trump's budget picks being connected to Project 2025, which straight up says we've got to gut food stamps and other social programs. Even though Trump says, no, we're not going to touch Social Security, we know that his advisors are saying, can we cut Medicaid? Can we cut Social Security? Nothing is sacrosanct. Nothing is off the table.
Okay, so basically what he's saying is that those questions that they are asking themselves are, can we do this with certainty? Okay? And no, they're saying, can we do this without hurting anybody else or upsetting the things that we said we're not going to upset? Again, and again, I'm sitting there and I'm talking about this article, and I already said I'm not going to pay Jeff Bezos. You do get a freebie, so I did waste my freebie on you guys, okay? So look what I do for you guys. Subscribe, please.
So Look at Newcastle.
This is just basically David Pakman mischaracterizing the conversations that Trump is having with his advisors. And yeah, some of his advisors did work on Project 2025. But David Pakman won't tell you is that half of the country actually agrees with Project 2025. So you really have, a little bit of a problem there. But again, as I said before, if he can't mischaracterize the situation, there's no way that he can advance his ideology. It's like that with leftism. It is. There's an entire history of it. There's this small little book. It's called The God That Failed, okay? And it's absolutely nothing but essays from people about how they, why they joined the Communist Party, what happened to them when they joined the Communist Party, why they left the Communist Party, and what happened to them afterwards, okay? It's absolutely amazing the things that happened, okay? But this is true stuff. This is how this stuff works. Okay? And this is why I'm here, guys, to point it out.
Because in a way, it's a great example of what we're dealing with here. 1 in 4 people in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, live in poverty. 90% of the school kids qualify for free lunch. The federal benefits are what's keeping this community afloat. So if Trump cuts those, which he would love to do, this community is absolutely decimated.
Now, David Pakman is now ascribing thoughts, emotions, okay, to somebody that he does not necessarily have to, again, further his point. And again, it's a lie.
And yet there are lots of people who are saying, oh, Trump, they quote a woman, Kathy Davis, Trump has so much common sense. Right, but his common sense is pointing him to want to cut the programs you depend on. This is not a surprise. Trump's first term was filled with moves that hurt working class voters, tax cuts for the rich.
Okay, again, that is an absolute lie. And the only reason why they were absolutely a way to get away with it is because the way that the taxes then worked, people just didn't quite understand it. Everybody's check got bigger. My checks got bigger. I noticed it. But your checks got bigger on a monthly basis. They did not get better at the end of the year when everybody has been more or less trained like the hamsters that they are, okay, that they get this big nugget at the end of the year. And so they've come to depend on that. When that wasn't as big because that money was given to them up front, again, it gave the left the ability to say, hey, Trump is taking money away from you, when it did not. Look this stuff up, okay? One of the reasons why they got rid of Trump, I will assure you, okay, is that the piece of the gross national product, if you want to say that, or basically the chunk of the money that went to the common person and not the absolute rich, actually grew. Okay, that was one of the reasons why they got rid of Trump. Okay, and yes, I do believe that 2020 did have a lot of problems.
Trying to repeal Obamacare, policies that don't address stagnant wages. But we are finding ourselves here again, watching people who need government programs. Their lifeline is government programs. And they say, I'm throwing my support behind the guy who is setting things up to cut them. And he's bringing in a cabinet and a set of advisors that's going to cut all of this stuff. And the sad part, as one local Democrat put it, is that the voters didn't look at the big picture, which
the voters weren't buying the crap that the Democrats were selling, okay? This is what's going on. And again, I brought this up at the beginning of this, but this is what David Pakman is not going to say, okay? Is that these voters were largely Democrats before this election, okay? They voted in Trump because things got better under Trump and then got worse under Biden. They want things to get better again. It's not that they're terrified that their benefits and everything is going to be slashed. They are hopeful that things are going to get better. They are hopeful that economic reforms that Trump may put in place are going to revive Newcastle in a way that it hasn't been since it lost its manufacturing base. Okay? This, again, is how they mischaracterize things. This is actually classical projection, okay? The last part of this whole thing is going to be classic projection because, again, the Democrats promised their voter base things that nobody was ever going to pass, okay? It's amazing that you listen to, like, the Young Turks and all these other people scream and yell that the Democrats aren't listening to us, the Democrats aren't listening to us, but they're not listening to you on stuff that's not ever going to pass. and they keep you forever hopeful that they're thinking that you're going to do it. Guess what? In 2024, the dam broke. They don't believe you anymore.
Which is that when the promised cuts roll in, they are going to start paying the price. So the practical sort of political question that's left is, how many times does this cycle have to repeat itself before they realize Trump's promises are only promises meant to get elected and then do nothing else? How
2024 was when that happened, okay? And as I just said, it just happened for the Democrats.
long will it take until voters start regretting their decision? Maybe again. And unfortunately, I mean, listen, Trump's term limited out. They didn't learn it the first time. Biden came in with a different set of economic policies, and it didn't generate enough enthusiasm for Biden and ultimately Kamala Harris to prevent Trump from coming back in. They fell for the same talking points from Trump once again, talking points that are just fluff, stuff Trump either doesn't understand or doesn't intend to do.
And there you have it, folks. This has been Sage of the Left, David Pakman, basically spewing about as much garbage as he possibly can. As I said before, if you are able to get into the Washington Post, please read that article. It is full of people that are hopeful and voted for Trump because they are hopeful that he will actually help the economy and not necessarily basically take away their benefits or anything like that. Okay, they're either hoping for an increase in benefits or an increase in the ability not to need said benefits. And I think that's what everybody wants. Again, but not the left. The left depends on you being dependent upon them. Okay, that was the whole point of Obamacare. If you can put your health care in the hands of the government controls you. And that's all that Obamacare was about, okay? Obamacare was a complete and utter payoff to the insurance companies because they know now that they were getting their money. Where before it was basically a pick and choose. If you didn't want it, you didn't have to have it. If you wanted better, you could pay for better. Now, again, what they've tried to do is put it under a blanket where you're paying for stuff that you're or never, ever even had hope of ever going to need. So, again, I mean, why should I pay for somebody's birth control when I'm a guy? Seriously? But again, I mean, you know, there are arguments for it and not, but it is, again, a very personal choice. But again, thank you guys for joining me today. Hit the like button. Okay, can't speak today. Hit the like button. Share this video. Please subscribe. I love it when you guys subscribe. I also love it when you guys comment. I like the comments I'm getting and all that, even the negative ones. I get a kick out of them. So thank you all very much again, guys. Later.